Hi, PerspectaWeather.com meteorologist Paul Dorian here on Friday, July 27th. A strong cool front will arrive in the region this evening, and it looks like there can be some strong to severe thunderstorm activity ahead of the frontal system late in the day today or early tonight in the D.C. to Philadelphia to New York City corridor. Not only is the strong to severe thunderstorm activity a threat for late in the day, early tonight, but there can be some heavy downpours. Any kind of significant rainfall that occurs with this frontal passage certainly could exacerbate the flooding problems that we've had in the mid-Atlantic region, especially in areas like the Chesapeake Bay, the D.C. metro region, up across central Pennsylvania, where they've really been pounded with heavy rainfall. And indeed, it looks like there's a tendency for this front to kind of slow down as it arrives in the I-95 corridor, and that could lead to a several-hour period of some significant rainfall in the I-95 corridor early tonight. Again, we're looking at the possibility of a half an inch to as much as an inch of rain associated with this frontal passage. That certainly could cause some flash flooding issues, so it's a red flag that we have to watch out for late in the day today and especially early tonight. Well, this is the forecast map from the NOAA Storm Prediction Center based out in Norman, Oklahoma, and they do have the I-95 corridor in a slight chance, a slight risk here of severe thunderstorm activity. Again, it should be in the typical thunderstorm time period around these parts of the country, late afternoon, early evening, basically in the 3 p.m. to 9 p.m. time frame in terms of that threat of strong to severe thunderstorms. Any of those that do form could certainly have some gusty winds, some brief downpours, and even some small hail. Again, in addition to the severe weather threat, there is a threat for significant rainfall associated with this frontal passage. By that I mean a half an inch to an inch of rain in the I-95 corridor. Of course, that is a potential problem given the very well saturated grounds, and all the rivers are full right now. So we'll have to watch for that late in the day, and again, especially early tonight. Well, here's the latest surface map of a couple of features I want to point out. First of all, there is a stationary front really right up and down the I-95 corridor. Certainly did not get much clearing yesterday, but there was noticeable improvement with some sunshine, and along with the increased amount of sun, we had some warmer temperatures well up in the 80s for highs yesterday afternoon. With this kind of a weak dying frontal system right over the I-95 corridor, there certainly is a chance for a shower or thunderstorm at just about any time. But it is when this frontal system arrives late today and early tonight that there can be a band of strong to severe thunderstorms. That then tends to slow down in the I-95 corridor, and there could even be a period of some steadier rain associated with early tonight. Again, anytime from 3 to 9 p.m., but certainly that threat for some steadier rainfall will be in the evening hours in the I-95 corridor. High pressure behind it should produce a decent weekend here in the I-95 corridor with some sunshine on each day. But again, there can be a shower or two later Sunday evening, especially south of the Mason-Dixon line, places like D.C., Delmarva Peninsula, way down in southern New Jersey as well. Well, let's take a look at the latest radar loop, and we saw that stalled out frontal system, that stationary front right along the I-95 corridor. Indeed, there's a little batch of showers and maybe an embedded rumble of thunder or so in the very extreme part, northeastern part of Maryland, headed into northern Delaware. That will tend to fall apart, but certainly cannot rule out a shower or thunderstorm over the next few hours. Then we look to the west, and there will be a line forming here and intensifying during the midday and afternoon hours associated with the movement of that cold frontal system from the northwest to the southeast. And this is the area to watch for the formation of potential strong to severe thunderstorms that should reach the I-95 corridor late this afternoon and this evening. Well, let's take a look at the upper air pattern for the next several days. Again, probably two big stories. One is the cool frontal passage late today, early tonight, with some potential downpours and strong to severe thunderstorm activity, and then a wet pattern setting up again next week for much of the eastern third of the nation. First of all, a deep upper level low this morning over the Great Lakes, and that is providing the energy for the potential severe weather in the I-95 corridor later today. Let's move forward in 6-hour increments. These maps from tropicaltidbits.com. They came from the GFS model run at 6Z last night. And here we go into tomorrow morning. Basically, that frontal system will be just past the I-95 corridor by early tomorrow. And again, some sunshine on each of the next 2 days, Saturday and Sunday. And with that sunshine, high temperature should reach the middle 80s in much of the I-95 corridor. Then let's move forward here. We'll notice that there will be a trough, kind of a renewed trough that forms. Here we are now by Monday morning. And look at this out here in the middle part of the nation. Much in the same fashion that occurred earlier this week, a deep trough will then form next week over the central U.S. and sliding into the south central U.S., the Midwestern region here. And here we are by the middle of next week. And this pattern looks somewhat familiar to what we just went through with the significant rainfall of earlier this week. First of all, a deep trough situated out over the Midwest, a western Atlantic ridge, and basically sandwiched in between those two, a south to north flow of very moist air, tropical air coming out of the Gulf of Mexico, the southwestern Atlantic, the Caribbean Sea, right up along the eastern seaboard. We're setting up for much the same pattern for next week. It looks like anytime from, let's say, late Monday through Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday of next week, again, the chance for daily showers and thunderstorms in much of the eastern third of the nation. Of course, that could produce some flooding concerns given the very saturated grounds throughout the eastern third of the nation. Well, let's now walk through the surface forecast maps from last night's 6Z GFS model run. Here we are beginning this morning, Friday morning. Lots of fog around, even in the urban areas along the I-95 corridor. The clouds and fog this morning should give way to partial sunshine, quite warm and humid conditions. And then we'll watch for the arrival of that frontal system here, a band of showers and potential embedded strong to severe thunderstorms by this evening here with that cool frontal system. Then watch what happens here. The model, and this is not the only model, but most of the models agree with a little bit of a heavy amount of rainfall in the evening hours, let's say from 6 p.m. to midnight in the I-95 corridor. I believe this is accurate. I think this front tends to slow down for a while, and that allows for the a several-hour period of some significant rainfall, perhaps a half-inch to an inch of rain in D.C., Philadelphia, New York City in the evening hours. Again, this is first the threat for the strong to severe thunderstorms late afternoon, early evening, and then the threat for some steadier, heavier rainfall behind that initial thunderstorm activity, mainly in the hours of, let's say, 6 p.m. to midnight in the I-95 corridor. So again, this is quite an impressive frontal passage that we'll have to deal with late today and early tonight. Let's move forward here and notice by tomorrow morning some drying pushes into the mid-Atlantic region, and indeed it looks like a decent weekend. There will be some moisture just south of D.C. early Sunday, and it could result in a shower or two later Sunday in D.C., Delmarva, southern New Jersey. Basically, the front that comes through the area tonight will stall out just to the south and east, and it will be close enough to those areas south of the Mason-Dixon line to perhaps produce a couple of showers late in the day, Sunday into Sunday night. And then we'll start to move forward here into the early part of next week, and lots of moisture starting to gather itself, not only along the east coast over the Gulf of Mexico, but in the middle part of the nation. Again, all of this out here is associated with that deepening upper level trough. And here we go, by Tuesday of next week, we have low pressure out over the Midwest, high pressure over the western Atlantic in the familiar Bermuda High situation, or Bermuda High location. Notice, in between the low to the west, the high to the east, we have this broad flow of moist air here. Again, similar to earlier this week, that resulted in significant rainfall for the eastern third of the nation. Low pressure out here, high pressure out here, and the clockwise flow around the high, counterclockwise around the low will just pump in Very moist air again for a long period of time next week. Let's keep moving forward now and notice here, showers and thunderstorms pretty much on a daily basis. This is Tuesday afternoon. Here we go by Wednesday afternoon. Again, the same areas that were hit earlier this week, the eastern third of the nation, and all the way to Thursday. Here we go, continuation of that very moist pattern with the western Atlantic high and a flow of air out of the south to the north, just pumping in very moist air into the mid-Atlantic region of the northeast U.S. Again, we're talking about, let's say, later Monday and all the way through at least Thursday of next week, another extended period of wet weather for the eastern third of the nation. First things first, though, stay tuned to the weather for late today and early tonight for the potential for some strong to severe thunderstorm activity at the onset, the arrival of that cool front, and then a period of steadier, heavier rain potentially for a few hours behind that initial thunderstorm threat. Any significant rain this evening could result in some flash flooding. That's it for now. For PerspectaWeather.com, I'm meteorologist Paul Dorian.